The Candlestick Course. Author Steve Nison, Part 1 Introduction. Have you ever opened a candlestick chart and felt like you were staring at an abstract painting that made zero sense? Yeah, I've been there too. Candlestick charts, with all their colors, long wicks, short wicks, big bodies, small ones. Sure, they look nice, but just because something looks good doesn't mean it's easy to understand. And even if you do understand it, that still doesn't mean you'll make money. Every year, thousands of new traders jump into the market thinking that recognizing a pattern is all it takes to nail a trade. But reality? Most of them walk away with stop losses and disappointment. Not because candlesticks don't work, but because they never learn to read them as a language. That's why I want to introduce you to this book. The Candlestick Course is not some cheat sheet or magic entry blueprint. It's a mental boot camp for how to think in candlestick language, until reading candles becomes as natural as reading a text message. This book won't make you rich overnight, but it will help you stop losing money in dumb ways. And if you're serious, it'll give you a solid foundation, one that helps you survive and grow in the markets, something most new traders never manage to do. And here's the best part. You don't need to be a math genius. You don't need 10 screens and an algorithmic bot. You just need the right mindset and a willingness to go back to the basics. Part 2. Who wrote this book? In the trading world, if you've ever seen a candlestick chart, whether you knew it or not, you were walking a path first carved out over 30 years ago by one man. His name is Steve Nison. Back in the late 1980s, while Wall Street was still obsessed with MACD, RSI, and Bollinger Bands, Steve, then a senior technical analyst at Merrill Lynch, discovered an entirely different system from Japan. Candlesticks. A whole new way to see the market hidden inside the shape of price bars. No one understood it. No one believed in it. But Steve did the work. He learned Japanese, interviewed traders in Japan, dug through old records, and turned that system into a treasure chest of market analysis that still holds its value today. If you've heard terms like Doji, Morning Star, Engulfing, or dark cloud cover, it was Steve who brought those patterns from Tokyo to Wall Street. And the best part? Instead of guarding that knowledge like some secret money-making formula, Steve shared it. He wrote books. He taught courses. And the Candlestick Course is one of his most practical, stripped-down works. No fluff, no overly academic theory, just pure guidance on how to use candlesticks correctly and profitably. He doesn't call himself a guru. He acts more like a coach, handing you the magnifying glass so you can finally see the market clearly. And sometimes, that little bit of clarity is all it takes to stay alive in the game. Part 3. What makes this book different? I've read a lot of technical analysis books, and most of them make the same mistake. They tell you what things are, but not how to practice using them. The Candlestick Course isn't one of those books. This isn't just a book. It's a training manual, a workbook, where you learn, do exercises, and immediately test yourself right after. It's broken into 6 main chapters. It starts with the essentials: the origin of candlesticks, how a candle is formed, and why its shape reflects crowd psychology. Then it moves into individual candlestick patterns like Doji, spinning tops Marubozu, and onto combos like Engulfing, Morning Stars, and Harami. Later chapters focus on real-world applications, spotting reversals, breakouts, and combining candles with moving averages, support, and resistance. And finally, there's a full chapter called Progressive Charting. This is the game changer. You read real charts, analyze signals, make decisions, and then compare your conclusions with Steve's breakdowns. Each chapter includes a clear learning objective: short, straight-to-the-point explanations, quizzes to test your understanding, and answer keys with detailed reasoning, why something's right and why something's not. That's what makes this book stand out. It doesn't want you to just know candlestick patterns. It wants you to understand them through deliberate practice and feedback. It's like the difference between reading about lifting weights versus actually showing up to the gym. You've got to grab the barbell, feel the form, strain the muscle. And that's exactly what the Candlestick Course does. It puts you in the candlestick gym, so you can feel every price swing, every potential reversal, not just with your eyes, but with market instinct and logic. Part 4. Key lessons from the book. Candlesticks are a language, not a magic signal. A pattern equals profit. That's one of the most dangerous lies new traders bring into the market. And throughout every page, Steve Nison gently but clearly breaks that illusion apart. He teaches that a candlestick is not a buy or sell command. A candlestick is a language. And like any language, you don't just memorize words. You learn structure, context, tone, and emotion. You learn to listen before you speak. A candlestick isn't magic. It's simply telling you a story. A hammer after a long downtrend? That's the buyers whispering, "We've been pushed down, but we're not done fighting." A shooting star at the top? That's the sellers yelling, "We let them go high, but we're not letting them stay there." The problem is, most beginners learn the names of patterns, but not the psychology behind them. They see a doji and think, reversal. They see an engulfing and jump in. Then price goes the other way, and they ask, "But the book said this should work?" The book didn't fail. They did, because they treated the market's language like parrots, not like people who know how to listen. And that's the first and maybe most important lesson the Candlestick Course wants to drive home. If you study candlesticks like a language, you'll understand what the market is saying. But if you treat them like signals, you'll stay trapped in illusions and keep losing money. The anatomy of a candle. Read it right or read it wrong. A single candle can tell you everything about the psychology of a trading session, but only if you know how to read it like a story, not just a picture. Steve doesn't rush into complex patterns. He spends real time breaking down the anatomy of one candle, something most traders skip entirely. The real body is the heart of the candle, the battleground between buyers and sellers. A long body shows dominance, a short body shows hesitation or standoff. But it's not just the length. The position of the body tells its own story. If it's near the bottom, sellers dominated. Near the top, buyers had control. Then there are the shadows, or the wicks. A long upper shadow means buyers tried to push up but couldn't hold. A long lower shadow means sellers pushed down but were overpowered. Steve says it best. A shadow shows what could have happened, but didn't. And that's a clue to where the real power lies. Here's a practical example. You see a long red candle closing at the bottom. Looks bearish, right? But right before it, there was a candle with a long lower wick and a small body. A sign of buying pressure. Instead of jumping into a short, you pause and wait. That's how understanding structure keeps you from FOMO trades. The book shows why a red candle doesn't always mean bearish, and why two candles with the same shape can mean completely different things depending on where they appear. Steve trains your eye to decode those subtle clues, because that's where market psychology leaves its fingerprints. Bottom line, before you study candlestick patterns, learn to read a candle the way a doctor reads an X-ray. Not just by looking at the image, but by understanding what's going on underneath. Patterns are tools, not magic formulas. You can memorize 40 candlestick patterns, but if you treat them like magic spells, the market will teach you a very expensive lesson. Most traders are drawn to candlesticks because they look simple. Engulfing equals reversal. Doji equals indecision. Hammer equals bounce. Just memorize the shape and go? Not quite. That's one of the biggest lessons in the Candlestick Course. Candlestick patterns are tools, not guaranteed formulas. Every pattern needs context, and the book makes this painfully clear. A bullish engulfing in the middle of an uptrend? It doesn't signal anything new. A morning star without volume confirmation or nearby support? Probably weak. A dark cloud cover in a choppy market? Likely just noise. Patterns on their own don't work. They need a story, a setting, a reason. And here's where Steve stands out. He doesn't just give names, he teaches thought process. For example, he doesn't just say harami means reversal. He explains that a small body inside a larger one signals fading momentum. He doesn't just define tweezer tops. He explains why equal highs reflect serious resistance from sellers. It's that kind of deeper reasoning that lets you use patterns with confidence, not just copy-paste memorization. A real-world case? A trader sees a bearish engulfing on the 1-hour chart and jumps in short. But if he had zoomed out to the daily chart, he would have seen it was just a pullback in a strong uptrend. He gets stopped out, not because the pattern was wrong, but because he used the right tool in the wrong way. The takeaway? Candlestick patterns aren't prophecies. They're just tools. And like any tool, you've got to use them in the right time, right place, and the right way. Context is king. support, resistance, and timeframes. A beautiful pattern in the wrong place is as useless as a perfect shot into the wrong goal. Steve Nison repeats this throughout the book. You cannot treat candlestick patterns as isolated events. You have to read them in context. First, where is the candle on the chart? A hammer at a strong support level? That's powerful. Same hammer floating in the middle of nowhere? Not so much. A reversal in a downtrend? Could just be a bounce. A bullish engulfing with high volume? That carries weight. Same candle with low volume? Might be a trap. He says it clearly. No pattern is reliable if it's not grounded in technical context. Second, multiple timeframes. The bigger picture matters. New traders often stare at one chart, maybe the 15-minute or the 1 hour. But Steve teaches that a candlestick is just one tiny scene in a much bigger story. If you don't know the larger narrative, you're trading blind. For example, the Doji on H1 may seem neutral. But if the daily chart shows bearish divergence and resistance overhead, that Doji becomes a warning. The book teaches you how to stack timeframes, like building floors in your analysis. Find the trend on the daily chart. Look for entry on the hourly or 30-minute. Confirm it with volume or price action. Why does this matter? Because most traders don't lose from misreading patterns. They lose from using the right pattern in the wrong place. You saw a bullish setup and jumped in, but you missed the resistance just a few pips above. The market slapped you, not because you misread the candle, but because your vision was too narrow. The takeaway? No pattern is more powerful than one that forms in the right context. And no entry is riskier than one made without it. Risk and emotion management, the hidden keys to survival. A candlestick can be right. The market can even go in your favor. But without risk discipline, you'll still end up losing. This is one of my favorite parts of the book. While most trading books stop at teaching you when to enter, Steve goes deeper. He teaches you how not to lose stupidly. First, position sizing. How much should you risk per trade? Just because a setup looks good doesn't mean you go all in. Steve is clear. Every trade should be a calculated risk, not a coin toss. Ask yourself, what percentage of your capital are you risking? 1%? 2? Is your position size aligned with your stop loss? If this trade fails, how many more trades can you take before you're wiped out? Second, stop loss placement. Where do you put it? And why there? A proper stop loss isn't just randomly thrown on a chart. It should be based on nearby support or resistance, recent volatility, and the structure of the candlestick. For example, if you're buying off a hammer, your stop should go below the wick, because once that gets taken out, the pattern is no longer valid. Third, emotional control. This is the hardest part. Most traders don't lose because the pattern was wrong. They lose because they reacted wrong. They see a pattern and jump in too early, FOMO. Price pulls back slightly, they panic and exit. They win 3 trades, get greedy, and forget to set a stop on the 4th. And just like that, game over. Steve offers real-world advice. Keep a trade journal, review your decisions, track your emotions, not just results. And never forget, even the best system can't save you from your own impatience. Bottom line, you can master every candlestick pattern in the world, but if you don't learn how to protect your capital, the market will teach you the hard way. Using your own money. Part 5. Why this book beats most online courses. Be honest, have you ever paid a few million dong, or maybe a couple $100 for a trading course? Attended 2 or 3 sessions, and then just never finished it? A lot of traders have. We've all seen the ads. Become a pro in 3 days, 1 course, lifetime mastery, only $200. But once the hype fades away, what's left? No real understanding. No actual practice. And worst of all, no idea what to do when you're staring at a real chart. The Candlestick Course is a completely different experience. It's not a 500-page textbook you leave on a shelf and forget. It's a compact, hands-on, structured training guide, especially for those who learn best by doing, not just reading. Let me give you a quick comparison. Most online courses last 3 to 5 sessions, easy to forget. With this book, you can learn anytime and come back to it whenever you need. Most courses dump theory fast and move on. This book builds chart reading skills step by step. Practice. Courses often skip it. This book includes quizzes, exercises, and live case studies. Courses cost $50 to $200 or more. This book, it's about the price of dinner. And most importantly, courses are easy to forget without application. This book becomes a long-term reference you'll use again and again. So what makes this book stand out? Each chapter starts with a clear learning objective, just like a real course. At the end of each chapter, you'll find quizzes to test yourself. And each answer comes with an explanation, so you don't just memorize, you actually understand. There are also real-world chart case studies, so you can apply your thinking like you're on a live trade. Here's what matters most. When you learn from a book like this, you're building a real, durable skill. You don't rely on a teacher. You don't need a subscription. You go at your own pace, and you apply what you learn directly on your charts. So, if you're serious about trading and you want to build your candlestick skills from the ground up, this book might just be the smartest investment you'll ever make. It's not as flashy as a YouTube ad, but it helps you survive and grow in the market. And honestly, very few courses can say the same. Part 6. Limitations you should know. No book is perfect. And if you're expecting the Candlestick Course to be your get-rich-quick shortcut, you're going to be disappointed. Now, it's a great book, but let's talk about a few things you should know, so you go in with the right mindset and actually stick with it. First, this book is not for lazy readers or people looking for just tell me when to buy. You won't get directions like, see this pattern, enter here, exit there, take profit here. Instead, the book asks you to think, to do the work, to read, interpret, analyze, and apply what you're learning. If you're not willing to pause, take notes, or pull up a chart next to the book, it might feel a little dry. But that's not a weakness. That's a sign this book expects you to actually engage. Second, some of the chart examples may feel outdated. The book was originally published in the early 2000s, so some illustrations reflect the style of that era, not the chaos and speed of today's markets like crypto or AI-powered trading. Still, here's the truth. The core principles are timeless, because human psychology and how crowds react under pressure hasn't changed. Third, this book won't hand you a ready-made strategy. If you're looking for a plug-and-play trading system, this isn't it. Steve doesn't give you a full entry, exit, stop-loss formula wrapped in a bow. Instead, he teaches you how to read the chart strategically, how to evaluate candlestick patterns as part of a broader analysis, and how to develop a trading style that actually fits who you are. In short, he's not handing you a fish. He's teaching you how to understand the current. Final word on this part, this book is not a magic wand, but if you're serious about trading and you're willing to learn the right way, it could be one of the cheapest and most valuable investments you'll ever make. Part 7. Real-world application. Case study. Learning without applying is like learning to swim by reading a book in an air-conditioned room. Steve Nison doesn't just want you to recognize candlestick patterns. He wants you to know how to react in real time when it actually matters. In the final chapter of the book, titled Bringing It All Together, Steve puts you in front of real charts and challenges you with questions like, what do you see in this candle formation? Is this a reversal or just a pause? If you entered here, where would your stop loss go and why? This part of the book is powerful because it lets you practice reading candles in real market context. It forces you to think for yourself, make a call, and then compare it with Steve's expert breakdown. Here's one standout example from the book. You're in the middle of a long downtrend. Price comes back to test an old support level. A hammer forms, long lower shadow, small body, and a slight volume uptick. The question is this the bottom? Is this the start of a reversal? But Steve doesn't answer right away. Instead, he guides you to check the higher time frame. On the daily chart, you see that this is a major support zone. Then you wait for confirmation. A strong bullish candle closes above the hammer. Next, you compare it with similar setups from the past. Same pattern, similar context, and a high success rate. The takeaway? This isn't just a hammer. It's a story of sellers trying to crush the market and buyers stepping in at the right time. That's how real traders think. Not just seeing candles, but understanding what the market is trying to say. This book doesn't teach you to enter on candle number 3. It trains you to look at the chart and say, I understand what's happening here, and I know how I should respond. This case study section shows you the real value of the Candlestick Course. It turns knowledge into skill, skill into action, and action into results. Part 8. Who should read this book? If you're overwhelmed by indicators, confused by systems, and burned out by expensive trading courses, maybe you're just missing one thing: the ability to truly read a chart. And the Candlestick Course is the kind of book that can give you that ability, practically and without any hype. So who should read this book? First, beginners who are just starting out. You don't need any prior candlestick knowledge. Steve starts from the ground up, until you can look at a candle and read the story behind it. No complicated jargon, no information overload, just a clear, step-by-step approach if you're serious about learning. Second, traders who know candlestick patterns but can't use them effectively. You've heard of Dojis, Engulfings, morning stars, but every time you trade them, you get stopped out. Chances are you're missing context, critical thinking, or pattern confirmation skills. This book helps you relearn it the right way, and more importantly, use it in live, real-world trades. Third, traders who want to build a strategy based purely on technical analysis. You don't need bots. You don't need 15 indicators. You just need a candlestick chart, a trained eye, and a framework to think clearly under pressure. This book gives you that foundation, so you can build your own trading style from there. Here's the final message. The Candlestick Course doesn't teach you how to beat the market. It teaches you how to listen to it. And once you truly understand what the market is saying, only then do you have a real chance, not just to survive, but to win. It's not flashy, but it's solid. It won't make you rich overnight, but it'll help you stop losing money due to ignorance. And honestly, that might be the most valuable thing any trader can invest in. Part 9. Closing. If you've ever taken a trade just because you saw a candlestick pattern and the market slapped you for it, maybe it's time to relearn things the right way. The Candlestick Course isn't magic. It won't promise overnight riches. But if you're serious about trading and you want to understand how the market really moves, know why you're losing instead of blaming bad luck, and build a skill set rooted in strategic thinking, then I truly recommend you read this book. I've included a link in the description to buy the official version, print or Kindle, whichever works best for you. And if you've already read it, I'd love to know. What was the biggest lesson you took away from this book? Let me know in the comments. If this video helped you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Investory Hub. I'll be reviewing more real, practical, and high-impact trading books that you can actually learn from. Study so you don't lose out of ignorance, and read until every candle stops being a mystery and starts becoming a story you truly understand.